The alarm on my console screamed before I even opened my eyes. Red light filled the bridge. My hands moved to the controls before my mind caught up with what was happening. We were surrounded. My name is Daniel Cross, and I was the communication officer on the last human resistance ship still fighting in this war. Around us, in the cold dark of space, 31 alien fleets had gathered. 11,000 ships, every one of them aimed at us. We had nowhere to run and no way to win. I looked at my captain, a tall woman named Grace Hollies. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. She knew, like I did, that this might be our last day alive. "Send it," she said quietly. I did not need to ask what she meant. We had one hope left, a story passed down for generations, about an old ship that had been left behind in the ruins of our home system, a ship nobody believed still worked, a ship called the Requiem. My fingers trembled as I opened the channel. I sent our location, our situation, and one simple message into the empty field of broken rock and dust that used to be our home world. "If you can hear this, we need you." Nothing happened at first. Grace looked at me and I shook my head. Nothing. The alien fleets began to move closer, tightening their formation like a net closing around a fish. Then something changed. Our sensors picked up movement from the debris field. At first it looked like just floating rocks shifting position. Then the shapes became clearer. One massive object began to turn. It was not a rock. It was a ship. A very old, very large ship, patched together with metal plates that did not match, covered in scars from battles fought long before I was born. "That's it," Grace whispered. "That's the Requiem." I could not believe my eyes. For years, people had said this ship was just a story parents told their children to make them feel safe. A tale about a lost guardian who slept until we needed it most. But there it was, waking up right in front of us. The alien fleets noticed it too. I watched their formations pause. Ships that had been closing in on us slowed down, then stopped completely. A calm voice came through our speakers. It was not human, and it was not friendly. It was the voice of an alien commander, speaking through an open channel meant for all fleets to hear. "Identify yourself," the voice said. "You have entered a restricted battle zone." There was a pause. Then from the old ship a new voice answered. It sounded rough, like it had not spoken in a very long time, but it was steady and clear. "I am the last ship of Earth's defense fleet," it said. "You have 1 hour to leave this system." I heard soft laughter from some of the alien channels. They thought it was a joke. One single ship, no matter how big, could not stand against 31 fleets. It made no sense to be afraid of one old vessel floating alone in the dark. But then the Requiem did something that changed everything. It vanished. Not moved, not jumped away. It simply disappeared from every sensor at the same time, while still remaining visible to the naked eye through the windows of nearby ships. One moment our scanners showed a full reading of its size and shape. The next moment there was nothing. No signal, no trace. Just a silent shadow sitting in space, untouched by any technology we understood. The laughter stopped. Grace turned to me, her jaw tight, her eyes fixed on the old ship. "They don't know what it can do," she said. "Neither do we." That was the terrifying part. We were the ones who sent the message, and even we did not know if this ship could save us or destroy everything around it, including us. The alien commander's voice returned, but it sounded less certain now. "Power down your weapons," it ordered. The Requiem answered without hesitation. "My weapons have been ready for 140 years. They will stay ready until you leave." Around us, ship after ship in the alien fleets began adjusting their positions. Not attacking, not retreating yet, just watching, waiting, trying to understand what they were dealing with. I looked at the countdown on my screen. 50 minutes left until the deadline the Requiem had given them. "What do we do now?" I asked Grace. "We wait," she said, "and we hope they believe the warning." Minutes passed like hours. My hand stayed on the controls, ready to act, though I had no idea what action would even help at this point. The silence on the bridge was heavier than the alarms had been. Then one of the alien fleets began to move, not toward us, away. It was small at first, just a handful of ships repositioning at the edge of the formation. Then more followed. Within a few minutes, an entire fleet had turned and begun retreating toward the far side of the system. "They're leaving," I said, almost afraid to believe it. Grace did not smile, but her shoulders relaxed slightly. Not all of them yet. She was right. Several fleets still held their position, clearly debating whether to test the warning or trust it. I could only imagine the arguments happening on their command ships, weighing the risk of staying against the fear of an unknown weapon that had already outsmarted every scanner in the fleet. 20 minutes left. Another fleet began to retreat, then another. Like dominoes falling one after another, the massive gathering of ships that had trapped us just an hour earlier started breaking apart and moving away. I watched the numbers shrink on our display, from 11,000 ships down to 9,000, then 7, then 5. The alien commander spoke one more time, his voice sharper now, clearly frustrated by the retreat of his allies. "You are one ship," he said. "You cannot stop us all." The Requiem's answer was calm, almost patient, like a teacher explaining something simple to a stubborn student. "I do not need to stop you all," it said. "I only need you to remember why your ancestors chose never to return to this system." That sentence hit harder than any weapon could have. It was not a threat about what the ship could do right now. It was a reminder of something far older, something buried in history that made even the boldest commanders hesitate. 10 minutes left. The final fleets began to pull back, their formations breaking into scattered groups heading toward the jump points at the edge of the system. Within minutes, the space around us that had been filled with warships was empty again, except for our small resistance ship and the silent giant floating nearby. I let out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. "They're gone," I said, "all of them." Grace finally allowed herself a small smile, though her eyes still held the weight of everything that had just happened. "We're alive," she said, "because of that." She was looking toward the old ship, still floating silently, its damaged hull glowing faintly under the distant starlight. I opened a private channel to it, unsure if it would even respond. "Thank you," I said. "You saved us." There was a pause before the answer came, quieter this time, almost gentle. "I was built to protect what was left," it said. "As long as I still function, I will keep that purpose." "Will you sleep again?" I asked. Another pause. "I do not know," it said, "but if you ever need me, send your signal into the silence. I will be listening." The channel closed, and the great ship began to drift back toward the debris field, slowly fading from our sensors just as it had come. I watched until I could no longer tell it apart from the broken rocks and dust surrounding it. Grace placed a hand on my shoulder. "Log this," she said. "Every word. People need to know what happened here today." I nodded, though my hand still shook as I began typing, not from fear anymore, but from the weight of what we had just witnessed. A single ship, forgotten by most, remembered by a few, had stopped an entire war fleet without firing a single shot. As I finished the report, I thought about all the stories I had heard growing up, tales meant to comfort scared children during dark times. I always thought they were just that, stories. But now I understood they were warnings too, passed down so that one day, someone desperate enough would remember to ask for help. Grace sat back in her chair, staring out at the stars where the enemy fleets had once filled the sky. "We survived today," she said, "but this won't be the last time we need reminding of what we still have." I looked out at the same stars, thinking about the silent guardian drifting somewhere in that debris field, waiting for the next call that might never come, or might come far too soon. For now, though, we were alive. And somewhere out there, an old promise made long ago had finally been kept.